Hi, so this is going to be a demo of ArgueFlow's semantic search and retrieval augmented LLM chat capabilities over a pretty interesting, unique data set that we think some of you will find interesting. This is actually going to be over the Enron corpus, which, for those of you that are unfamiliar, was a very famous large-scale financial crime scheme that occurred somewhere near the early 2000s, around 2002. And thankfully, that data set is publicly available due to the nature of that case. So we were able to deploy a very interesting demo to show for you today. So what semantic search essentially is it's inferring meaning from your queries, which is much stronger than traditional keyword search in that you can have much longer and more arbitrary queries and still get relevant results given to you. So as you can see in our UI, we have a couple of suggested searches that you can go for, but let's just do kind of a long-winded query just to see what we get in terms of results. And in this case, it's the fact that Enron's aware of liquidity problems and are panicking trying to find a solution. And you'll notice that in a very performative manner, you get a variety of different cards, as we call them, that represent segmented chunks of arbitrary data. So things like documents, emails, etc. And so here you're seeing all of the different cards that have come up as a result of my query. And this is something that if you were to put that same data set into something like Google and try to do a keyword search, you would not find nearly as relevant results as we're bringing to you here. We have a couple of things in the UI as well in terms of metadata that we store. So things like the date that the particular email or document was either created or sent from. We have the recipient and the sender of a particular email, for example. We have the subject line. If this was something like a document, we would have a link to a full version of the document for you to download, as well as like an image for context for you to be able to see the exact full document without having to open it yourself. So we have a variety of different features that you can access. So one of the things is that you can upvote or downvote a particular card of evidence so that you can prioritize it as a sort of hot document. We also have a function for sorting things into what we call buckets that we call collections. And so what a collection is it's a group of individual pieces of data that all sort of represent a similar meaning. And so we have the capacity for you to add these particular individual cards to a given collection that you can also create. So if I wanted to make a new collection for a particular type of data that I'm finding, I can just very easily upload those things to a collection. And so if I go into my user profile, you'll be able to see all of the collections that you've made on a particular piece of data. So in this case, let's go to the scamming collection that I've made in kind of preparation for this demo. And you can see that I've grouped together some of the relevant results that I was able to find that kind of imply some degree of scamming taking place, or at least knowledge of a scam. And so one of the things that you can actually do over collections that's really interesting as well is a retrieval augmented chat component. So I can ask an LLM on any particular question I have of this collection. So I can say, what are the relevant parties within this data set? And using retrieval augmented chat functionality, we're going to get a list here being generated actually of all of the relevant people that I have given into this collection and grouped together. So there's a variety of different functions that you can have this kind of LLM model do. You can have it do things like generate timelines. You can have it give you summaries of a particular sentiment of a collection. And so we find this really helpful for just giving further context. Another thing that you can do once you have a collection open is get recommendations for cards that are relevant to that collection that you haven't perhaps added yet. So these are new cards that are being recommended to us that have sort of a similar sentiment to the overall collection. You're also able to do this with a particular card when you have it open. You can also get related cards that have to do with that same one that you have open. And so with all that in mind, once as well you kind of have the full data set and you don't really want to do searching anymore, you can head over to our chat infrastructure where you can have a retrieval augmented chat with the entirety of the data set. So in this case, it's sort of the main parts of Enron and every piece of data that we've uploaded into here. You can ask it to do certain things. You can have sort of an argument that you want to have written, and then have a response given. But this is now an LLM that's been trained on the entirety of that data set. So if I were to ask it something like, at what time did Enron employees realize that something really bad was happening to the company? And so if I put this into our chat, we're going to then have a generated response that will cite particular pieces of evidence about the particular question or thing that you've asked it to do. So in this case, it's explaining to us that they began to realize something particularly bad was happening once that stock price went down to $15.80 a share. And in this case, it's even telling us which employee wrote a particular email that expressed this sentiment. So we're hoping that this is something that you're going to find very interesting and useful to chat over large data sets and have very accurate and non-hallucinated responses being given to you. So with all that in mind, those are the main features that